Hello, Baragon. Good. Oops. Okay, what am I forgetting? Okay. Wow. Okay, so I have to do what I ask everybody else to do and not bring politics into my life. But it has been crazy today. So without getting into things, let's hope tomorrow is a better day. That's all I'm going to say. Agreed. There were at least 4 or 5 universities that had threats made to them today. I hope all of those students and faculty are safe. And that people are. I don't expect people to be healed today. That's not going to happen. But time. Okay. Today's live is the Conservation Spotlight Philippine Eagle. And that's what we're going to focus on today. And then I do have news for the Spooky channel. I think. So I did something a while back to make things easier on me. I deleted all of my individual files that I had on my Google Docs and reduced it down to just one for each channel. So basically, when I do a live, the next live, it's erased for. This also means that there isn't a template anymore for the lives. So I have to print out a couple lives and see if it works, and then keep that for the next time. So today, like I said, we're talking about the Philippines eagle. Should I try to say the name, the scientific name, or should I just kibosh it? Oh, that did not work. Give me a second. I think it's Pithecophagi jeffreyi. That is the scientific name for this bird. Pithecophagi jeffreyi. Faga? Yeah. Anyway, I give up. So this may look similar to the lives on the other channel. That is okay. Like I said, I'm not working with my usual template, so bear with me on this one. This animal is critically endangered. Its population trend, unfortunately, is for more decreases. Its population is somewhere between 180 to 500 individuals. Now, I need to let you know that that estimate that I'm giving you was done in 2003, and they have not reevaluated. So it could be higher, it could be lower. This animal's population is severely fragmented. And unfortunately, we are also still seeing declines in mature individuals. Now, there are reasons for their decline, and one of them is forest destruction and fragmentation due to the timber industry. And I get nervous every time that I talk about that. But it's the truth. They are seeing a loss of old growth forest within their habitat, and that is an ever-present threat. It is actually their greatest threat at this time, next to pollution, which we believe is interfering with their reproduction. Hunting and trapping is still a threat. People are still doing it, but it's not their greatest threat. And it's unknown at this time what role climate change is going to have on this species. So how are we saving them? What's the conservation behind this animal? So there is conservation in place in some areas in the form of captive breeding and release programs. The last thing that I read, they are working on it. They released 2 animals that I know of. I'm sure there are others. One of them died because of electricity, meaning they probably hit a power line. And the other one was killed via hunting. So somebody shot it somehow. There is educational programs in place. They are listed on CITES, so that is something. However, there is a ban on their trade for their parts and for the living and dead animals. So you can't, like, somebody in America cannot go to the Philippines and bring a bird back. Not going to happen. At least not visibly. It's not going to happen. If you want to see these birds alive, there are places that you can go to that exhibit these birds. 2 of them are in the Philippines and 1 place in Singapore. 392 in breeding pairs. That means there's, let's say, 196 males and 196 females, potentially. Because that's 392. So there's 196 nests. Maybe. And you can also go to Singapore and see them. Now they are working, like I said, on reintroduction. But not all reintroductions go as nicely and as beautifully as others. These birds are majestic and they are beautiful. They range in length from 2.5 feet to 3.3 feet. Their wingspan is 6.5 feet, and they weigh anywhere from 10 to 18 pounds. That doesn't sound like a whole lot, but remember, birds have hollow bones. So it's not like a mammal that has solid bones. These birds can live in steep terrain that, and all the way down to the lowlands, around 1,800 meters. Prey species vary depending upon the island that they live on. They are not migratory. Breeding cycle takes around 2 years. And it starts off, of course, with mating. These birds are monogamous. And to the best of our knowledge, they stay with their mate for life. Females will reach maturity around 5 years of age, males around 7. Chicks will fledge at around 4 to 5 months of age, but once they are fledged, these birds may stick around for a year, almost a year and a half. So a lot of time is invested in the next generation. 2 years invested in that purpose. That is all I have, basically. And I spent quite a bit of time actually looking for information. When an animal lives in places that are hard to get to, it greatly complicates things. Our next live will be next week. And the topic is going to be the Wyoming toad. No clue what that's going to look like. I did look there, I believe. They support conservation of it. They have a lot of great resources on the bird. They are beautiful birds, like I said. Our last topic for the month on this channel is going to be colonial Spanish horses. And that is part of our endangered barnyard series, which is going to take a break for a while. But we do pick it back up, I promise. We will spend an entire month of March just on that topic. So I'm excited for that. My problem with reforestation is this, and I've talked about this before. The Philippines is tropical, which means that it's rainforest, potentially. We know that rainforest soil and I'm not knocking reforestation. I think it's great. Reforestation in they are working on reforesting. They're aiming to restore critical ecosystems by planting 5 million trees across key provinces by the end of 2028. So that's ambitious. So the Philippines launched sustainable land management agreements, consolidating 7 10-year instruments into a single renewable 25-year contract. The country's Environment Department says the policy will boost reforestation, support climate goals, and open more than 1.18 million hectares, almost 3 million acres of land for sustainable uses like agroforestry, which is basically agriculture within the forest, believe, ecotourism, and conservation. which is great. The problem is that environmental groups are afraid that it could make forest degradation worse, displace indigenous people, and open the door to greenwashing by corporations seeking to profit from land-based climate schemes. In the Amazon, when they talked about reforestation, uh-oh. Okay, because on my end, oh, it was paused. That's weird. One of the issues that we have in the Amazon is once you chop it down, once you chop the trees down, if you burn it, you create an issue where, yeah, you planted trees, but it's not going to be the same. And I don't know if that holds true for reforesting in the Philippines. I could plant 20 trees, 50 trees, 100 trees, but if the animals don't come back, and you don't have a functioning ecosystem, why plant the trees? And that's my only question. If you're planting trees just to reharvest them in 20 years, you're not planting trees to help the ecosystem. You're planting trees to make your pocketbook a little bit greener. And that, to me, that sounds really bad of me, but I feel like sometimes that's the end result. So I'm hoping that on top of reintroducing trees or replanting trees, that they're taking time to get animals and other plants into the rainforest or into the lands that they were displaced from. Because unless you do that, like I said, you're not doing anything other than replanting trees. On the spooky side of things, I'm going to be doing a new video once a week. It is going to be it is going to be a field guide to one of my monsters. It'll probably end up being the one that is put out on Wednesday on the channel. And it'll be basically this, and this. It'll be very clear information on it. Maybe. Not necessarily. If I put in, if I say, oh, I'm going to plant native plants in my yard, but I only plant milkweed, it creates a monoculture. You need to have the right trees and the right trees and the right plants and variety. And cross your fingers that it does work. Diversity is a very interesting thing. If you were to plant eucalyptus trees in Australia for the koalas, you need to have just the right eucalyptus, and you can't plant just one or two. You need a variety so that they because if you plant the wrong eucalyptus, you could kill them. I don't think they eat every single eucalyptus type, if I remember right. What I'm saying is, for instance, spice bush, really great shrub. But if I go in and I take out all the spice bushes and I don't put in spice bushes, but I put in hazelnut trees, I'm not putting back the spice bush that the spice bush swallowtail needs to feed its babies. Hi, Dino Lover 737. So hopefully they are planting what was there before. And I can't talk on that because I really don't know. I am basically going by we seem to, when we even here, when we restore a prairie, it's almost like we repeat the same plants over and over again, which is great. But then at some point you have to let Mother Nature take over and let her help establish plants. But that means also that you have to be vigilant. Because if you're not careful, you could end up with stuff you don't want. So if you can get fruit trees growing there, native fruit trees, and that brings back that brings back, and their guts, if they bring back seeds, and the air maybe brings back plants, maybe it's not a loss. I think it's something that the scientists in the Philippines need to watch. Another problem that they're worried about is that these reforestation efforts could become a cover for commercial monoculture plantations. So basically, what they're saying is, yeah, we're going to replant, but we're going to replant teak, or maybe all mahogany, or maybe all if this were in America and it were in the Midwest, I could say, well, we're going to replant trees, but we're only going to replant white pine trees so that we have white pine timber, or we're only going to replant oak trees so that we can harvest the wood. That is what they're worried about. Hey, I'm only reading off what I'm looking at and then breaking it down. There's no soapbox. They also want to include the community groups and the indigenous people. But again, there's fear that because big business is included in it, that it could exclude those groups. I wanted to see that. But it looks like they are using it to create jobs. So that's kind of cool. I hope that they're able to do it. Don't see. Okay, that's what I just read. That's what I just read. One criticism that popped up about this is not planting native species, which would not support the Philippines' unique biodiversity. Do, 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 do. I don't know. From 2002 to 2024, the Philippines lost 13% of its total tree loss. They lost 196 KHA. Let's see. No, it's not what I wanted. So if they lost 196 hectares, that is 484.3 acres. Yeah, probably. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go if we are alone. Eh, I don't know. I think I'm gonna get some work done. Bye, guys.